Okay, in this video we're going to go over the implicit differentiation textbook problems. So problem number 1 asks us to take the implicit differentiation of this function. So take the derivative of both sides and you get 2x minus 2y. The second you take the derivative of y, you're going to say dy dx. And that's going to equal 0 because the derivative of 1 is 0. Okay, so I need to get my dy dx all by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the negative 2y dy dx to the right. And I do that because I can just add. And so I get this equals this dy dx. To get dy dx by itself, I divide. Okay, divide over here as well. So this is gone, and I end up being able to cancel the 2's. So my final answer is dy dx equals x over y, and that is the slope. So let's go on to the next odd problem. Okay, here's problem number 3. So I notice I have y to the 5th. So as I take the derivative from the left to the right, 5y, don't forget your power, to the 4th, dy dx, minus 6x equals 1 this time. Okay, again, I see that I only have one dy dx to worry about. So I'm first going to add my 6x to each side. Let me get my color back. Okay, so if I do that, I have 5y to the 4th dy dx equals 1 plus 6x. Divide through by 5y to the 4th, 5y to the 4th, and dy dx equals 1 plus 6x in the numerator and 5y to the 4th in the denominator. Moving on to question 5. Okay, just looking at this question, I see I'm going to have dy dx's on two sides. So starting to take derivatives from the left, I get 4y cubed. I took the derivative, so I say dy dx minus 4x cubed equals 2y, take the derivative, dy dx, minus 2x. Okay, so looking at that, what I am noticing is that I have a dy dx over here, and I have another one over here. So I'm going to spend my next step rearranging this problem. So I'm going to get my dy dx's on the left side. So to do that, I'm going to say 4y cubed dy dx minus 2y dy dx equaled 4x cubed is now positive minus 2x. Factor, greatest common factor factoring, but actually not really. I just want to take out my dy dx. If I was doing greatest common factor factoring, I would have taken out a 2 and a y, but I'm not doing that. Okay, so inside my brackets, I should have 4y cubed minus 2y. That still equals 4x cubed minus 2x. Now divide by 4y cubed minus 2y. That will eliminate that. And 4y cubed minus 2y is in the denominator. But I can take out 2's. So when I do that, let's see if you can do that. You should be getting... Well, let's see. I'm going to do this on the next page because there's a couple of things that we can do. Let me just erase that. Let me cut this. And we're going to do it in the next page. Okay, so this is what my dy dx equaled. Okay. Alright, so what we're going to do is, why don't we, in the numerator, factor out a 2x and I'm going to get back what? Well, it looks like it's going to be 2x squared minus 1. Okay? All over. In the denominator, I can also factor out a 2y this time. And I get back 2y squared minus 1. Alright, the 2's can cancel. So my final answer can be this. And I prefer it, I prefer it in this form so that you have some factors. Okay, there you go. That's a nice, clean answer that you can do a lot with. So that's 5. Let's go on to 7. Okay, here's our 7. Working from the left and the right, we get, let's see, we have 6x squared plus 1 dy dx equals 6y squared dy dx. Notice I'm doing dy dx when I do the y. Plus 1. Alright, get all of your dy dx's on one side. So I think I'm going to go this way this time. And I have 6y squared dy dx minus dy dx. Alright, so on the left side I'm going to factor out a dy dx. And when I do that, I get 6y squared minus 1. So I had 6x squared minus 1 here. I'm going to divide that by 6y squared minus 1, because I'm going to do that on both sides. Now, we did all kinds of nice fancy canceling in the last problem. You cannot cancel anything here. So this is your answer. Those 6's cannot be canceled. Neither can the 1's. So hold yourself back. Don't do anything foolish. Okay, that's your final answer. Now, notice that you could have had this written as multiply the top and the bottom by negative, and that would give you 1 minus 6x squared over 1 minus 6y squared. That's equivalent to the answer I have. So let's go on to number 9. Okay, number 9 is product rule, product rule, product rule. Okay, don't not recognize that. That's a function, and that's a function. So I'm going to do product rule. So that's going to be left d right plus right. I didn't take a derivative, so I'm not writing anything else. D left, and that's just times 1, so I can leave it. And that's going to equal 0. So I'm going to move my y over as a negative, divide by x, and my dy dx equals negative y over x. So we can see for the slope value, I'd have to give you both a y and an x to be able to get the numerical value for slope. Okay, let's move on to problem number 11. Okay, problem 11 is another product rule. Here's your one function, here's your next function, and you have a power. So you're going to be very careful doing this. So starting on the left-hand side, I'm going to say left, d right. So d right's going to be 5 times y plus 2 to the 4th. Okay, now take the derivative of the inside. That's just going to be dy dx. You see why? Because you've got a y in there, that derivative is 1, and because it's a function of x, it's going to be 1 dy dx. You don't need the 1, and the derivative of 2 is just going to be 0, so you don't need that either. So far I've done left d right plus right, and that's going to be y plus 2 to the 5th, d left, which is just 1, so I really don't need it, and that's going to equal the derivative of 8, which is 0. Alright, so let's clean this up a little bit. So what do I see? I see that I only have 1 dy dx to work with. So why don't I move the y plus 2 to the 5th over to the right? Okay, so that will get me negative y plus 2 to the 5th. Then I'm going to divide by, I'm going to change it to 5x y plus 2 to the 4th. Okay, 5x times y plus 2 to the 4th, and that's my dy dx. Now, what do you think about this? Do you see the numerator and the denominator both share a y plus 2 to the 4th? So let's cut this out. Okay, so we're going to put this on the next page. And let's see what we can do with this. So can't I take out a y plus 2 to the 4th from the bottom and the top? When I do that, I am left with the following. Dy dx equals, I only have one of these now, and I have my 5x down at the bottom. And that is your answer in best form. Keep it in the parentheses, don't lose the negative, and then you're all set. Okay, let's go on to the next problem, which is problem number 13. Okay, problem number 13, when I look at that, I see right away I'm going to have product rule. So let's be very careful about that. Start taking your derivatives. I'm going to say left, d right, plus right, d left, minus 8x equals 0. So again, we only have one dy dx. We want to isolate that. So to do that, I'm going to move some things around. So why don't we move this entire term over to the right. I'm going to shift my equal sign. So I'm going to say 8x becomes positive. I'm just going to change the order and make that expression negative. Then I'm going to start being very bad and combining like terms, or just doing multiple steps, I should say. Okay, do you see what I just did? So I divided after I moved by x3 to y to get dy dx by itself. Now, is there anything else I can do with that? I could, I guess, well, let me just check it to make sure that everything is good. Okay, so it looks like I could get rid of one x from both the numerator and the denominator. So look what I can do. I can factor out an x in the numerator and an x in the denominator. Doing that gives me 8 minus 3x y squared over 2x squared times y. Those x's cancel. Dy dx, that's my best answer. That will help you keep your numbers small, because you've just taken out a multiple of x from the numerator and the denominator. You cannot do the same thing with y, because, let me just point here, because right here, right here, there is no y. And since there's no y, you don't have that rule of 3, so you cannot factor out a y and cancel it. So leave the y's be, only take out the x. Okay, we'll get rid of that mark. All right, so let's go on to question number 15. Okay, so here's number 15. So starting from the left, I see I have, by the way, I have a product on the right-hand side and an addition on the left-hand side. So I have product rule on the right and no product rule on the left. So taking my derivatives, I have 3x squared plus 3y squared, took the derivative of y, so I have to say dy dx, equals left, d right, plus, running out of room, right, d left. Okay, so I have how many dy dx's to take care of? Looks like I have 2. Okay, now everything is addition and subtraction, which is good, because we've taken care of the multiplication up above in the product rule. So let's move our terms around. So let's see. I think I'll just move them this way. So I have 3x squared minus 3x squared y cubed. Okay? Equals. Now I'm going to change the order. 3x cubed y squared dy dx minus, and I'm going to just put a little line here, minus 3y squared dy dx. Alright, so I'm going to have to factor out the dy dx on the right, and that's going to get me 3x squared y squared minus 3y squared. Okay, and over here I have 3x squared minus 3x squared y cubed. Divide that by 3x squared y squared minus 3y cubed. Okay, because I just divided through by this. That went away, and I believe this is the best you can do with this problem. Let's look at it. Look at my little answer key. And is there really anything you can do? Maybe we'll play around a little bit. So let me cut this out. And let's see what we have. Okay, so first off, we're going to get rid of this little y. That doesn't go with this problem. Okay, so let's see what we have. In the numerator, what can I factor out? It looks to me that I can factor out, I guess my 3's can all go. So let's factor out a 3x squared. That gives me 1 minus y cubed. That looks much better. The denominator, factor out a 3y squared. That gives me x squared, I believe, minus, let me think about this, minus 1. So let me just check on that. So hold on. Okay, so I just caught the fact that I dropped an x cubed over here. So go back and look and see where that dropped when I just copied. So now I'm back to where I should be. Okay, so this is what equals dy dx. So let's look at this. The 3's can go, and that's your correct answer. So let me go back for a second. I'll show you where I dropped the cubed. Here's the cubed here, and I forgot, as I copied it as a squared. So that's where the missing cubed went, but now we found it, so we're good. Go into problem 17. Okay, in question 17, you have two sets of product rules, so get both of them. So left, d right, plus right, d left. That's the first pair. Okay, then plus left, d right is 1, plus right, d left, equals 0, because the derivative of 3 is 0. Alright, so it looks to me like I have two dy dx's. There's one, there's the other. Got to get them on the same side. So I have x squared dy dx minus, okay, let me make sure I do this carefully, 2xy dy dx. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's still plus. Okay, so because I'm just moving them on the same side of the equation. So they're still both positive. They stay positive. Now we're going to move to the other side of the equation. Both terms were positive. They'll both go negative. Minus 2xy minus y squared. Okay, so let's factor out our dy dx. That's going to give me x squared plus 2xy. Rewriting my right side of the equation, 2xy minus y squared. Divide by the x squared plus 2xy. X squared plus 2xy. Okay, so let's see if we can clean this up a little bit. So is there anything we can factor out? It looks like I can factor out y's in the top. So I don't think I really have a lot I can work with there. So I think I might just leave that be for now. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one be. So let's go on to 19, because now they want us to determine the slope of the graph at the given point. So we're going to find the derivative, clean it up, and then find the slope. Let's go to number 19. Okay, here's our problem. Let's get our derivative first, and over here in the corner I put our x and y values. So working from the left to right, I have 12y squared dy dx minus 2x equals 0. So dy dx equals, move this, 2x divide by this. It is worth dividing both sides by 2 and canceling. Okay, so that's what I have, x over 6y squared. So dy dx evaluated where x equals 3 and y equals 1 equals 3 over 6 times 1, which is just 6. So that reduces to 1/2, and that is my slope. Okay, that brings us to 21. Okay, here's problem 21. I see I have a product rule. So I start out saying left, d right, plus right, the left is just 1, equals 0. My goal is to get dy dx by itself. Negative y cubed, so I need to move it over. Then divide by 3, let me just backtrack, 3x y squared. Okay, so that can equal negative y over 3x. And I'm going to evaluate that where x equals negative 1/4 and y equals negative 2. So negative over negative 2 is a positive 2, and that's going to be a negative 3 times 1/4 is a negative 3/4. So what do I do with that? You never really divide fractions, so you would say 2 times a negative 4/3. So I get a negative 8/3 for my slope, where x is negative 1/4 and y is negative 2. Okay, let's do 23. Okay, 23. I say I have the product rule right from the beginning. So I say left, d right, plus right, d left is just 1, plus 3y squared, dy dx equals 0. I have dy dx 2 places. So I'm going to bring over the negative y, because it's a positive y in the left. I am going to combine terms, and I'm going to divide by x plus 3y squared, and that will get me dy dx. So you probably want to do that a little bit more carefully than what I just did, but that should be your answer for your generic derivative. Then you're going to evaluate that where x is 3 and y is 2. So that's going to get my numerator to be negative 2 And then I have 3 plus 3 times 2 squared. So negative 2 over, this is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. So negative 2 15ths should be my slope. And now we're going to work on problem number 25. Okay, this last problem is a tangent line problem. So first we're going to find out our slope. I see I have the product rule. I do it carefully. Left, d right, plus right, d left, equals 0. So what does my dy dx equal? Okay, dy dx will equal negative 2x y to the 4th over, so I have a 4, I have an x squared, and a y cubed. Clearly I want to reduce that. So 2 and 4 ends up giving me a negative still on top, but only a 2 in the denominator. I get a single x in the denominator and a single y in the numerator. So here is my slope equation. So let's copy that over to the next page because I'm going to have to work with that. Okay, so this is my dy dx equals this. Alright, so why don't I say what is dy dx for the first problem where x is 4 and y equals 1/2. Okay, so that's the first one. So y is in the numerator, so I'm going to get, we'll call this the first one. Okay, so the first one is going to be negative 1/2 divided by 2 times 4 is 8. So that equals negative 1/16. Negative 1/16. So here comes our first equation. So what do I know? I know that my x is 4 and my y is 1/2. So y minus 1/2 equals negative 1/16 times x minus 1/2. Let's do x minus 4. Sorry about that. So x minus 4. Okay, so that's our first equation. Let me just check to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Yep, that all looks good. That's equation 1. Okay, so can we change colors and see if I can get equation 2? So, let's box this off, because this is all under equation 1. Okay, so equation 2, what has changed? So maybe we'll go over to the next page and set that up. So what do I want to take with me? I think I want to take, let me go back. I want to take this with me. So I know that's my slope. So copy that to the next page. That's the slope. Okay, I'm going to go back one more time. And what do I want? I want to copy this point. So copy that, go. Okay, I'm going to put that here. Okay, so now I have pretty much what I need to start working on this. So now I still want to do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, but I need to figure out what my slope is at this point. So let's see what it is. Okay, dy dx evaluated where x is 4, but now y is negative 1/2, gives me, instead of having a negative 1/2 in the numerator, I now have a positive 1/2 over the 8. So my slope is now positive 1/16. What is my second line? So this is all going to be the second lines now. So I still have 4, correct? So the only thing that's changed is the y is now negative 1/2. That will flip that sign. My slope is now a positive. And this part has not changed. So those are my two equations. So make sure that you are comfortable getting equations of tangent lines. And then don't forget to practice doing trig as well, because we haven't done any in these homework problems.